be giving my brief impression on this super entertaining detective fiction called Still Life by Louise Penny. Basically, the novel is set in this quaint little village called Three Pines that's situated in Quebec. So you'll find like a lot of French words and expressions interspersed with the English, which is really cool. It's a small village, so everybody knows each other. It's pretty tight-knit, and so when one of its residents is found dead in the woods, there's a question of whether it was just a hunting accident or an actual premeditated murder. Moreover, the victim, Jane Neal, was a former school teacher and undiscovered artist in her late 70s who lived alone with her dog and was pretty much like loved by the whole village. So I think the fact that the village community is so close-knit adds even more suspense about, who the perpetrator could be. What I loved about this book most is that, unlike modern day thrillers, its pace wasn't like crazy fast. In fact, if anything, it had this like Agatha Christie feel to it, which I really appreciated, because that way the reader can really just immerse themselves in the enjoyment of the characterization, which is just epic, really. Especially the main detective character, Chief Inspector Gamache, but also a slew of other characters that are just so three-dimensional. It's so impressive. I'll just give you a taste of that when she describes Jane's niece, Yolande Fontaine, who is obviously like one of the suspects. Yolande Fontaine only really existed with an audience. She was like those novelty lamps that came on when you clapped your hands. She switched to life with applause or the sharp clap of rebuke. Any reaction, as long as it was directed at her, was sufficient. Silence and solitude drained her of life. End quote. So that's like the type of writing that you can expect. For me, it's also the way that the author conveys different characters' inner monologues that are so deep, and yet when she switches to another character, it's almost farcical from the outside, which I believe just goes to show the depth of one's inner world, which others can be ridiculously oblivious of. Excepting, of course, a few cases where certain characters are endowed with like an astute sense of like reading people as a second nature. And how we see that in play is literally the author would express the innermost revealing thoughts of different characters while they are in dialogue, and she does this so seamlessly that it doesn't at all have a jarring effect. And you just know like whose thoughts you'd be reading. I'm gonna read out another passage which just like honestly I have no words. Let me just read it. Beauvoir left their home wanting to call his wife and tell her how much he loved her, and then tell her what he believed in and his fears and hopes and disappointments, to talk about something real and meaningful. He dialed his cell phone and got her, but the words got caught somewhere south of his throat. Instead, he told her the weather had cleared, and she told him about the movie she'd rented. Then they both hung up. End quote. So yeah, that just gives you an idea of that, like, I don't know, I want to say like character depth, which I just really, really love. Another noteworthy aspect to the novel, which may even correlate to my previous point, is that there's a certain realism that is magnetic to the telling of the story. It's a bit of a complex plot, but dressed in a simple whodunit kind of style. But that complexity is captured and woven into the main plot, like so skillfully that as a whole it's just so easy and pleasing to read. Also, I think one of the most maybe obvious hallmarks of an exceptional work of crime fiction is when you, as the reader, you have a pretty good idea of who the perp is, and then just like that, the author throws you off completely, and it turns out to be someone you least expected. I think Louise does a superb job at that. So yeah. One last thing I will mention is that the title of the book actually means something deep. It kind of has a double meaning, and you have to appreciate clever wordplay. You'll find out the meaning when you read the book. All in all, highly recommend. I would rate this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Until next time, happy reading!